All right, welcome to the 26th edition of MMA Junior of Before the Battle, not MMA Junior Radio. I'm Nick Baldwin, and joining us, as always, is Daniel Levy, and also live from Daniel's house is the MMA Genius. Both of you, how's it going?
Going amazing, man. You know, we got the MMA Genius in studio. Last week we had Anderson Silva. This week we have Conor McGregor. I mean, the UFC is really they're spoiling us, man. What can I say?
Yeah, no kidding. And
what up? You still there, buddy?
yeah, I just had my video playing by accident, so I heard my voice and was really freaked out for a second. Anyways, also joining us is a writer for Sportsnet.ca and today's knockout. Joining us as always, go Paolo. Paolo, how's it going?
Well, what's up, guys? It's good to be back when the show's actually starting this time. So how you guys doing?
Yeah, exactly. Being here for the start is always great. Anyways, let's get right into this weekend's UFC card. And like Daniel mentioned, Conor McGregor tops it off and versus Nate Diaz. One heck of a fight. We'll get to that closer to the end of the show. First things first, I want to start off with the first fight of the night. We have Julian Erosa taking on Teruto Ishihara in a featherweight matchup. Daniel, who do you like in this matchup?
Nick, I have a feeling we're going to be on the same guy in this one. I'm taking Teru. I think Ishihara's got a statement to make here. You know, Julian Erosa, he's one of these guys that likes to go out there. He likes to fight pretty. He likes to be cute. Kind of reminds me of Miles Jury. He's one of these guys that thinks he's Dominic Cruz, but he's not Dominic Cruz. There's only one Dominic Cruz. And, you know, he's had chin issues at 155. He got knocked out by Lobov. He's been dropped in other fights. And historically speaking, when you drop a weight class, it doesn't do you any favors. And not to mention, this guy's 6'1", so making that 145-pound weight limit, it's going to be a tough cut, man. And I see him getting knocked out by the man that has 6 of 7 wins via knockout.
All right, MMA Genius, do you like Erosa here or Teru?
I'm leaning towards Teru from a betting perspective. I like it for the line to be a little better right now, but I think Teru, he's got good power, got good movement, got a nice left hand, but, you know, he did gas out hard in his last fight. Erosa's 6'1", and he's cutting down to 45, and he's been knocked out at 55, and, you know, when you drop the weight classes, the chin gets worse. So I'm leaning towards Teru.
All right, now, Paolo, are you going with Teruto Ishihara, the tough, I want to say Japan winner, sort of? He obviously went to a rare draw with someone who I cannot recall. Hirota, correct. And, yeah, so they went to a draw, and Dana White was pissed off because they shouldn't have. Doesn't matter, though. Do you like Teru here or Erosa?
You know, I was gonna pick Yashabo, aka Teru, but if are you gonna pick him, Nick? Let me know right now. Are you gonna pick Yashabo or Julian or Juicy J? Just let me know right now.
No, I gotta go Teru.
Okay, I'm gonna pick Juicy J then, because I don't like it when all of us unanimously agree on picking a dog, man. So for the sake of not jinxing him, I'm gonna pick Juicy J. His method of victory, I don't know, maybe like you guys said, Yashabo gasses in the third and Juicy J wins the third in a close fight, and usually the guy who finishes the fight stronger gets the decision. So let's just say maybe Teru gasses in the third and Juicy J, I don't know, wins that round, even though Teru won the first 2 rounds. And Juicy J wins by split decision. But I'm Yashabo here, but for the purpose of this, I'm picking Juicy J.
Now, like I already said, I'm going with Teruto Ishihara here. Now, I barely remember what Julian Erosa's game is. I know he fought last December at the Tough Finale, went to a split decision with someone who probably isn't UFC caliber. Obviously won that split decision, or we would not be talking about him right now. Teruto, I wasn't overly impressed with him in his UFC debut with Hirota. That was the final matchup of Tough Japan. He did seem to gas, so that's a bit of a worry, but I'm not sure it's going to matter. Like Daniel pointed out, he has 75%. Actually, let me take that back, because it says he has 75% of his wins by knockout and 50 by decision, so UFC needs to go back to math. But let's just say he has quite a number of wins by knockout. So I'll go Teruto Ishihara by knockout here. Next up, we got a very interesting lightweight matchup on the Fight Pass prelims. We got Diego Sanchez taking on Jim Miller. Paolo, do you like the Nightmare here or the veteran? Well, they're both veterans, but do you like the Nightmare or Jim Miller?
It's funny because I think the records are also really similar, and they're both fan favorite type of fighters. But Diego Sanchez, I think, is 25-8, and Jim Miller's 25-7. So I'm like, damn. I mean, it's funny that they've been in the UFC for so long, but they're only fighting now. You know what? I don't even know who I'm gonna pick here, man. I might as well flip a coin. This is gonna be one of those fights where it might be back and forth. They both might get into a brawl because they're really not fighting for a lot anymore, other than to entertain the fans, I guess. So hopefully it's a really entertaining scrap in there. And let's give it to Diego by decision, split decision.
All right, now Daniel, do you agree with Paulo here? Do you like Diego Sanchez, or will Jim Miller get the job done?
This is gonna be the first time in half a decade that I picked Diego Sanchez to win a fight. And the reason I'm picking him is, well, firstly, he's tougher than Jim Miller. Jim Miller is better everywhere, but that's not going to matter in this fight because Diego Sanchez is tougher. Jim Miller's gotten to this point where he's folding up from one punch of ground and pound. He's quick tapping, stuff that he would have never done in his prime. And with Diego, he's got zero quit in him. I mean, he's old. Both of them are shot. But Diego will just fight till the bitter end. And even if it looks to us like he lost the fight, one judge is going to have it 30-27 snap. So I got Diego here, and I'm a back Paulo on that split decision. But at the same time, I could see a late finish, via ground and pound.
Interesting. Now, MMA Genius, do you agree with both here? Do you like Diego Sanchez, or will, I believe the slight favorite, Jim Miller, get the job done?
Yeah, I mean, you could, possibly snipe Diego by decision. I think it's like plus 211 right now. But I think Miller, like Dan said, I think he's lost it in his heart, man. I just think he's not the same guy anymore. I think, like you said, Diego, we know he's not going to quit. I know it sounds crazy betting on Diego, but he's kind of lost like his last 8 fights when we think of it. But I just think Miller's at a point where he just doesn't have any more left in him, and I think you got to go on Diego right now.
We're not all screwed for picking an underdog because I'm going to go with Jim Miller here. I don't have too good of reasoning. It's Diego Sanchez and Jim Miller. You don't really need too good of reasoning. They're both veterans. They're both basically done. I mean, at this point, I honestly believe Miller has just a bit more left in the gas tank. When it comes down to aging veterans like both of these fighters, Diego Sanchez and Jim Miller, it comes down to who has more gas in the tank. You could argue either way. It's a coin toss for me as well. I'm going to side with Jim Miller because I think overall he's the more skilled fighter at this point in both of their careers. I do think, unlike Daniel said, I do think that'll play a bit of a part in this fight. It won't all come down to who has the most left in the gas tank, who has heart, stuff like that. I think it's going to come down to skill because they're both aging veterans and basically done. But I'll go with Jim Miller. Moving on, we have a very, very interesting featherweight matchup between Chas Skelly, the scrapper, and Darren the Damage Elkins. Daniel, do you like Skelly here or Elkins?
Well, it's interesting because Elkins can grind, and Chas Skelly can grind, but he can also KO and he can submit. So, I mean, if you're going to take an exam and they ask you, which guy do you want? Do you want the guy that can just grind, or do you want the guy that can grind, KO, and submit? I'm picking the guy that can grind, KO, and submit. I think he's got more ways to win. And, we've seen in the past with Darren Elkins, when he gets put on his back, he doesn't have a response. And on the flip side, with Chas Skelly, he attacks off his back. They can both grind, like I said, but Chas Skelly can finish you. And I do think he's going to finish Darren Elkins late in this fight.
Now, MMA Genius, do you agree with Daniel here? Do you like Chas Skelly inside the distance? Do you like Chas Skelly? Or, of course, do you like Darren the Damage Elkins?
Darren Elkins is a tough dude. I mean, this dude, he puts it out on the line. He's a tough dude. But, I think, Chas Skelly is just like a younger, better, quicker, stronger, faster version of him. I think he can do all the things that Elkins do and better. He's got faster hands. We know Elkins is tough, but he's got slow hands. He doesn't move his head. He's kind of a grinder bust fighter. He has to grind this to win out.
Grinder bust.
I mean, Skelly would have to gas out hard, which he's never done. We've never seen that. I mean, this dude put up a hell of a fight with Mirsad Bektik. I mean,
Finished him.
kind of finished him, but
He
I
knocked
mean,
him out.
Yeah.
whether it goes 3 rounds or whether he finishes him, I think Chad Skelly gets this done.
Now, Paolo, do you agree with Daniel and the MMA genius here? Do you like Chad Skelly, or are you siding with the veteran here, Darren Elkins?
I gotta go with Chad Skelly here. I mean, this kid just every time you think you gotta figure out, he does something like I don't know. He wins a different way. Like he finished what's his name, Kevin Souza in his last fight, and I mean, I was really high on that guy. I thought Kevin Souza was like the next a great Brazilian prospect we see, but Chad Skelly goes in there and just beats him up. And yeah, they already covered basically everything. But I just wanted to say that Darren the Damage Elkins, and the reason he has that nickname, the Damage, is because in each of his fights, he looks like he always gets. He looks like he's always the guy who's getting more beat up, regardless if he wins or loses. He's always the guy who comes out of it looking worse for wear. So I kind of feel bad for this guy, man. I think maybe Chad Skelly finally breaks him for good. So Chad Skelly by late TKO.
All right, I'm going to go with Chad Skelly as well. I like him inside the distance, too. I'm going with Skelly by submission here. Overall, I've been really impressed with Skelly. He submitted Kevin Souza in his last outing, and I was really high on Kevin Souza. I picked him by knockout versus Skelly. I learned my lesson in that one. Despite Souza looking good early on, Skelly was able to get the submission in the mid-fight and everything like that. Darren Elkins is basically just the worst version of Chad Skelly, and it has less ways to win. Daniel put it perfectly. He can grind, and Skelly can knock out, grind, and submit. So you got to go with Skelly. It's a fairly obvious choice. I mean, Elkins can grind out Skelly. It wouldn't shock me. Elkins does have that. He is a veteran compared to Skelly. He does have a slight experience advantage. He's been in the game longer, but I don't think that's going to be a big point in this fight. I think like the Sanchez Miller fight for different reasons, but in the same case, I do think Chad Skelly will win because he's the better guy overall. I like him. I like him here by submission. All right, moving on, we have Vitor Miranda taking on Marcelo Guimarães. Paulo, first off, do you know anything about Marcelo? Is he making his debut?
No. He's making his not even middleweight debut, but from what I remember from this guy is that he got knocked out by Hyun-Gyu Lim in that fight. And the thing is, Hyun-Gyu Lim's like a middleweight sized guy, and he was actually doing all right in that fight. But he was only doing all right in that fight because Hyun-Gyu Lim has like really bad fight IQ. Like he was winning that fight throughout and does something dumb, like throws a flying knee at the end of the round and gets himself on his back. And eventually, Hyun-Gyu Lim just knocks him out with a knee. Now, Vitor Miranda's going to roll. I think Vitor Miranda's one of my biggest locks in this card. My only concern about him is that his chin's not the best. He's taken a lot of beatings in his career, but I don't think Guimarães is going to be that guy that's going to crack his chin open. I think Miranda's going to roll here, probably beat him up and finish him on the ground.
And I do want to point out, Marcelo, his last fight was back in 2014, early 2014, so that may be why I'm not too familiar with him. Daniel, do you like Miranda here or Guimarães?
I like Miranda over Guimarães. I think that obviously Miranda, he's a world champion kickboxer, and what's really cool about him is that even if you take him down, he'll find a way back up to his feet, and he'll try to finish you. He doesn't have any heart issues. So for me, it's all about the weigh-in day. I got to make sure that he looks like he normally looks. A lot of things have changed in the sport. And assuming he looks the same, I think he's going to win this fight because with Guimarães, it's kind of ugly with this guy. He misses a lot of shots. He throws at air. He's very slow, but at the same time, he is tough. He will try to take you down, but I think Miranda's going to knock him out. So I got Vitor.
And before we get to the MMA Genius, I want to quickly say shout out to Slurpee King 88 for spamming the YouTube chat. Hopefully he will stop now that I gave him a shout out. Anyways, MMA Genius, do you like Vitor Miranda here or I almost said the Brazilian. They're both Brazilian. Or Marcelo Guimarães.
Yeah, Moraes is like a 6-time world BJJ champ or something like that. I mean, but when he shoots takedowns, he really doesn't get on top for that much long. Dudes get right back up on him. I don't think the takedown defense is going to be an issue. I think Vitor is going to head kick him a couple times and Moraes will go down.
Yeah, I like Vitor Miranda here as well. Like Paulo said, it's the biggest lock on the card, one of the biggest. You got to go with you got to go with Vitor Miranda here. He's probably better everywhere. Although I first heard of Marcelo Gomes 2 minutes ago, so I mean, don't bet the house on Vitor just because I said so, but he should win. Moving on, we have Erick Silva.
Uh-oh.
Now, is it going to be the Love Fest? Is it going to be the Erick Silva Love Fest? We'll find out in a second. He's taking on French Canadian, I guess, Nordine Taleb. Paolo, are you going with the Canadian here, or does the Erick Silva Love Fest continue?
You know what? I'm gonna restart the Erick Silva Love Fest.
God damn it.
But you get well. First of all, you gotta look at the weigh-ins, right? You gotta see if he, looks like the old Erick Silva, or if he shows up looking like Erick Silva's fat twin cousin or something like that. But even if we only get 50% of the old Erick Silva who was wrecking dudes, I still think he beats Taleb, man. Taleb's like this, like. I don't know, Tate's just like this all-around guy's not good in most areas, but he's serviceable enough to keep a job in the UFC, and so you could feed him to guys like Erick Silva to get them a win, and I think he's going to do his job here as a jobber and get submitted by Erick Silva maybe in the second, or, yeah, maybe in the second or something like that. Erick Silva.
All right, Daniel, are you continuing the love fest for Erick Silva, or will Nordine Taleb pull off the upset?
Well, firstly, Nick, I'm really glad that you put it like that because I would have made you ask me that question again if you didn't say hashtag Erick Silva Love Fest. So absolutely 100% continuing the Love Fest because what's happening here is not only is he not out of shape, and let me remind you, when he was out of shape, he still went to a split decision with top 15 Neil Magny, the guy with the longest reach in the UFC welterweight division. What happens whenever Erick Silva fights? I don't want to call him a can, but a non-top 15 guy. What happens, guys? He finishes them. So what's going to happen here? He's going to finish him. And, I mean, he's been training with Master Hoffa. As long as RDA hasn't been beating his ass too much and Shogun and Lyoto, which I don't think will be the case because Master Hoffa monitors the sparring, he's going to have something for Nordine. I think he's going to take him down. He's going to submit him. And if by some stretch of the imagination Nordine can do a little bit of TriStar shit, I think we can knock him out on the feet.
Now keep in mind, this Erick Silva you're talking about that finishes all prelim guys and all non-top 15 guys. This was the Erick Silva that looked a bit different, to say the least. But I'll get to my breakdown in a second. MMA Genius, do you agree with these two? Erick Silva win, or will Nordine Taleb win?
I mean, Erick Silva, he's let me down a few times. I mean, he gasses out. He sometimes falls up in fights, but I think this camp change is just going to add that fire in him. I think he's training at Team RDA now. I think he's just going to come out and smoke Nordine, just take him down and submit him. I mean, Erick Silva's got some nasty jits. I mean, we've seen what he's done to Jason Hyde, Charlie, Carlo Prater. I mean, he's got that stop the show move in him. Like, I think I know Nordine trains at TriStar, probably throws a lot of jabs. That's the only way I think he could win this fight, by winning a tight decision, and I think Silva's going to just finish him.
And winning a tight decision is exactly what Nordine Taleb will do. I ruled out the Erick Silva Love Fest when he fought Neil Magny. I am doing the same now. Erick Silva looked really, really bad against Neil Magny. Physically, he's not the same fighter. I mean, he didn't pop for anything, but it looks like that maybe he was on a little something. Maybe he hit up Anderson Silva. Never know. I'm not picking Taleb because I'm Canadian. Not at all. But it's fade Erick Silva from here on out. It's unless Erick Silva fights one of us or I was high on Erick Silva at one point, but he's not the same fighter. I don't care that he Thatch nearly submitted Matt Brown in the first round. I don't care that he beat all of these fighters, but it just comes down to the fact that Erick Silva is not the same fighter no matter who he fights at this point in time. Nordine Taleb, he's not been impressive. He got submitted by Worley Alves or decision, something like that. I believe it was a submission, yeah, back in August. That was no surprise. I picked Alves in that fight. I think Nordine Taleb will grind out a decision here. I really,
Dude, he lost to Mike King, man. Come on.
Mike King was on steroids.
Fair point, but still.
Yeah,
just give me a hard time, Nick. Yeah, Erick Silva love fest up in here. Don't ruin our Erick Silva love fest.
I mean, you can love Erick Silva all you want, but at the end of the day, the Erick Silva love fest will just die even faster after Saturday night.
Erick Silva love fest will never die.
It will die after Saturday night. You can hope it never dies, but truthfully, it's going down after this Canadian beats him up. I gotta go with Taleb here. It's not gonna be pretty. It's not gonna be a fun fight, but I'm going Nordine Taleb by decision. Moving on, we got Brandon Thatch taking on CR something. Daniel, I know you interviewed him. You can pronounce his name for me. Who do you like?
Just don't ever interview him and not know.
I probably won't. Or if I do, which is a possibility, then yeah, I would learn his name.
Because I'm just telling you right now, even though I interviewed him when he was coming off 2 losses and no one gave a shit, now once he knocks out Thatch in the first round and everyone wants to interview him again, he'll remember who was there when no one else was. But with that being said, you know what CR brings to the table is that he's got that one-hitter quitter. He can knock you out cold and embarrass you. Now, obviously, he's been out for 2.5 years, but his last 2 fights, he didn't look the same as he looked in his UFC debut, and there's a reason. I mean, he wasn't 100%. He said he wasn't ever going to come back and embarrass himself again. So now he's 100%. He's training with Greg Jackson, John Jones, Carlos Condit. And, I mean, Thatch, the thing with Thatch is that we thought he was going to be this, badass fighter, and then he goes out there against Benson, and he gets a boot sweep against a 55er, and then he helps him back up. He gives him a hug. He gives him a high five. He lets him fix his hair. He quick taps. I just don't like this guy. He reminds me of Francisco Rivera. And when I say I don't like him, I mean I don't like him as a betting man, because I like him as a fan, and he's fun to watch. But he's like Francisco Rivera. He can either knock you out in the first round, or he'll find a way to lose. And in this fight, he's going to find a way to lose. So, CR Bahadurzada.
Are you going with CR something, MMA genius, or Brandon Thatch?
The thing with this fight is, as a betting man, I have to bet on CR just on the fact that the times that we've seen Brandon Thatch in trouble, he's completely folded. He touched gloves in the middle of a fight with Benson Henderson, and then he just looked slow and off against Gunnar Nelson and took a serious blow to the head. The thing is, at that price, at that line, you have to take the shot, because, of course, that should come out here and throw some serious heat early, and Sayer could be tough enough to just take it, and he could just get outworked possibly. But Thatch is a finisher. He's either a finisher or he's gonna get finished. But at that price, I gotta go with CR.
And can I add something? In all of Thatch's wins, he's got an 100% finish rate. So if he doesn't finish you, he doesn't win the fight.
Now that's definitely a fair point, but he has a good chance of finishing CR. Paolo, are you going with the underdog here, CR, or will Brandon Thatch get back into the winning column?
Yeah, and just to add to Daniel's point, I'm not sure what the Brandon Thatch one-loss was before he went to the UFC, but if he got finished, then 100% of his fights ended in a finish. He either got finished or he finished the guy.
It was a split at the Playboy Mansion.
Oh yeah, was that the one at Strikeforce or something?
Yeah, it was against Brandon Magana or something.
Oh yeah, now I remember. I thought I was thinking about Luke Rockhold for a second, but no. But no, yeah. What? Before Daniel and MMA Genius broke this down, I really had no idea who the freaking would win this fight. I know that this was a fight I wasn't gonna skip though, because at that price you can't trust Brandon Thatch at that price, man. I mean, Gunny caught him good and just went down and folded, like you said. And then against Benson Henderson, he kept letting Benson take him down, and then he kept giving up his back. I mean, he got out of one rear naked choke, and then what does he do in the 4th round? He lets Benson take his back again, and then he finally taps at that time. And I bet Brandon Thatch in that fight, and I was super pissed off because my other two parlay legs cashed, and he was like the only guy left. So, man, I'm definitely not gonna bet Brandon Thatch here. And you know what? Why not? I'm gonna go with CR here. I mean, I might not bet him either because he's been out for so long, so I don't know what he's gonna look like. But he definitely has the power edge here. If anything, he's giving up some size, but we'll see. We'll see. I mean, all it takes is one good clip to Thatch, and Thatch could be out.
Did we freeze or did Nick freeze?
I don't know. I think Nick's frozen, man. I can see you guys perfectly.
Cool. So, I mean, I bet you that he's picking Thatch, and, you know, the thing with Thatch is when he first came to the UFC, the way he used his length and his knees and he'd put guys away early, it was truly something to behold, but he didn't fight that level of competition that, you know, once he stepped up, he got finished. And whether it was against a 55er in Benson or it was, you know, another potential 55er in Gunny.
It's just that when
Good.
It's just that when we've seen him get hit, what's happened? We've seen him fold up.
Yeah.
Just straight up fold up, tap quick as hell. At that price, you have to take the shot on Zaire. Zaire is tough, man. I think he's gonna finally get his fight. He's gonna get to plant his feet and throw. Like at that price, I got Zaire.
Yeah, and Nick, you back in here? All right. Well, you know what, Paolo, I mean, when I bet on Thatch against Henderson too, because I bought the hype at that time, and you know that fight taught me a big lesson that, you know, Benson had the experience, he had that championship, you know, experience, and he was just the gritty vet. He pulled it off, and man, but I thought Brandon Thatch was going to be a lot better than he was. You know what I mean, Paolo?
Oh yeah, for sure. I was definitely disappointed in that. Yeah, man, I just thought he had a lot of chances to finish him. He had him hurt a couple of times and just didn't. And like you said, he kept letting him back up. I mean, he'd get cocky, he'd get taken down, give up his back, trying to get up recklessly and get submitted. So, yeah, I don't know.
Nick, you back in here, man?
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Perfect. All right. And as I was saying, Brandon Thatch will knock out CR. You got to go with Brandon Thatch here. CR has been out of action since 2013. He hasn't beaten anyone since 2010. He hasn't won a fight since 2012. 2012. And that was against Paulo Thiago, who is no longer with the UFC. Yeah, you got to go with.
And also Brandon Thatch's biggest win.
That is definitely fair. That is definitely fair. But I do think Brandon Thatch having fights as of late, I will say he's been up a fairly tough competition. Benson Henderson, although he's now a Bellator fighter, which to the casual fans doesn't sound good, but Benson Henderson is still one of the best fighters on planet Earth. Gunnar Nelson is also a good fighter. Obviously, he's had his setbacks here and there, but he's still a good fighter. Brandon Thatch, I don't think there's really any shame in losing to both of them. Brandon Thatch is a bigger guy. I have no idea how CR will look. He could look very good. He could look the best he's ever been. But there could also be cage rust, and chances are there will be cage rust. I don't know CR personally. I don't train with him. I don't have any relation with him. I haven't seen him training. I don't know what he looks like. Maybe he looks terrible. Maybe he looks fantastic. I don't know. I have to guess. Chances are, because of odds, a guy coming in off of a 2.5-year layoff won't look the best they've ever looked. So you got to go with Brandon Thatcher. I think overall he's the better fighter. And with the layoff, I'm fairly confident in him to win inside the distance. Moving on, first fight on the main card, we got Amanda Nunes taking on Valentina Shevchenko. Paulo, who do you like in this one?
You know, it's not like I really want to say Amanda Nunes in this fight. I mean, I think she has more ways to win this fight, but I mean, we've seen Amanda Nunes like put it on her opponents and whoop their butt, like what she did to Kat Zingano, and then gas out and just lose the fight. I mean, this chick Shevchenko, I mean, she's not Russian. She's from Kyrgyzstan or one of the stans in there somewhere. But I mean, this girl is tough, man. This girl's like a former K1 champion. Like, I mean, when she fought Kaufman, I thought she was gonna totally outstrike Kaufman and neutralize her takedowns. But what she does is she takes Kaufman down, actually. And that split decision in there was BS because everyone knows that she won 2 out of the 3 rounds pretty clearly in there. So, I mean, if she doesn't get submitted by Nunes, if she doesn't get submitted by Nunes, which is the only way I think Nunes could possibly win. I mean, she could hurt her and like submit her or something, maybe take her down and beat her up from top position. But I don't know, man. I think I might side slightly with Shevchenko, but I reserve the right to completely flip my pick after watching a little bit more.
All right, MMA Genius. Do you like Shevchenko here or Amanda Nunes?
I mean, this is a real tough fight. The thing is, the longer the fight goes, is the worse for Amanda Nunes. Of course, she can come out, get in this girl's face, throw some serious heat, and this chick can go down. I mean, she's got that type of power. But the thing is, what if she doesn't? Her cardio isn't on par with the top girls in the division. I mean, it's either she knocks this girl out. If it hits the floor, Shevchenko showed me she's good enough to compete with her there. And I just think she's got better cardio. And this girl's a winner. She's got 1 loss, but I mean, hey, it's good that she got that loss out the way. And I'm leaning towards Valentina.
Now, Daniel, you were really high on Nunes when she fought Sarah McMahon. You picked her. She won. She won in devastating fashion. Do you like Nunes here, or will Valentina Shevchenko pull off the slight upset?
Well, firstly, I got a question for Paolo. Do you remember which round it was that she lost against Kaufman?
No, can't remember, man. Probably third. Oh, no, third. Didn't she lose the third? I think she lost the third, right?
The third round, okay. So that tells me something. So here's the thing with this matchup. It's interesting because you got a point striker in Shevchenko. She beat Joanna Jędrzejczyk 3 times in kickboxing, but Jędrzejczyk is a strawweight. This is at bantamweight. But with that being said, you got a point striker versus an aggressive brawler who likes to come forward and finish you. And I'm going to favor Nunes just because she has that UFC experience and she's been there against the toughest girls in the world. But at the same time, an upset would not surprise me in the least because I do believe there is some special talent with Shevchenko. So definitely stay tuned. But as far as playing this fight, you got to bet because there's no confident pick. I'm just leaning Nunes because of the experience.
I like Amanda Nunes here as well. Basically for the same reasons Daniel pointed out. Experience is one. UFC experience, obviously. Also, Daniel pointed out how Nunes is a brawler and Shevchenko is more of a point fighter. I agree, except that Nunes, yes, she's a brawler, but she's also very skilled. You can't forget that. She just doesn't run in there and hit hard. She does have some skill. She's ranked number 4 for a reason. But with that being said, she has brutal knockout power. And despite Valentina being a point fighter and things like that, a Nunes decision would not shock me.
No?
Given the advantage as longer the fight goes. So if Nunes finished this early, would not shock me. If this goes to decision, I would lean towards Shevchenko getting it. But I do think it's going to end early. I honestly like Amanda Nunes here by first round or second round, probably TKO. Moving on, we got Corey Beast in 25-8 Anderson taking on Filthy Tom Lawler. Daniel, do you like Beast in 25-8 or Tom Lawler?
Yeah, it's funny because I always tell people, at first I didn't really understand what his nickname was. I thought it was like an area code or something like that. But it turns out, this guy doesn't just beast 24/7. This guy beast 25-8. And that goes a long way, that will to win, that drive, that determination, that goes a very long way. And that could very well win him this fight. But when you talk about Tom Lawler, he, like I was talking about with Nunes, he's got that experience. He's been there. He's done that. But he is a natural middleweight. At the same time, without the IV ban, it makes sense that he'd go up a weight class. He did have good success in his debut. If you do a little bit of MMA math, he just knocked out the guy that knocked out the guy. He knocked out the guy that knocked out Corey Anderson. So That's respectable. But with that being said, it's going to be interesting because Corey's a wrestler, Tom's a wrestler. Can Tom stuff that takedown? Will this turn into a stand-up fight? Because if it turns into a stand-up fight, Corey's more of a point striker. He works with Mark Henry. And not that those guys are all point strikers, because Frankie Edgar did just knock out Chad Mendes. But the style is to land that volume. And with Tom Lawler, he's got that one hitter. So it's a tough one, but you got to lean towards Anderson. But, some sharp people, front row Brian told me to take Filthy Tom. James Vick told me to take Filthy Tom. The Tout Master told me to take Filthy Tom. So, who knows, man.
All right, Paolo, do you like Tom Lawler here, the fairly sizable underdog, or will Beastin 25-8 beast himself to a decision?
You see the beast himself. Yeah, you know what? You might as well do it. But see, the thing with Corey Anderson is this guy was always a highly touted up-and-comer, right? And then he gets knocked out by John Vellante as a 5-1 favorite. I think it was like a 5-1 favorite. That was crazy in that fight. But he was winning that fight until he got caught. But one of his biggest weaknesses was his lower body, man. He just wasn't checking enough leg kicks, man. I mean, even in his fight with Justin Jones, I believe, that guy who's originally a middleweight, he wasn't checking any leg kicks, and if he didn't catch him, he probably could have had difficulties there too. I don't know, man. This is a tough fight to call. I want to say Corey Anderson's going to win by decision, but if there's a finish, it might likely be Lawler. And yeah, like Daniel said, a lot of sharp people have been calling for Lawler. Originally, I was going to bet Anderson win by decision, mix it up, and maybe grind out Lawler worst case scenario. But yeah, let's go with Anderson. But if Lawler comes in there and puts on another impressive underdog finish, I'm not gonna be shocked at all.
All right, MMA Genius, are you siding? Are you agreeing with Daniel and Paulo here? Will Corey Beastin 25-8 win this fight, or Tom Lawler pulling off the upset? Will that happen?
Corey Anderson, he's a young kid. He trains with Team Edgar. He's improving every day. He's learning under a great camp, under a great role model like Frankie for him. But, Tom Lawler, he's like this vet that's been around forever, that's kind of just starting to take the game seriously. But I just think the way Corey fights, he lands in volume, and Tom likes to sit there and try to land that big shot. If he's relying on that Corey goes down, I just don't think that's a good bet. And I just think Corey, even though Tom is probably better on paper at wrestling. He's a D1 wrestler, and Corey's a D3 wrestler. I feel like Corey's more likely to win the wrestling battle, to be honest. And I think he's just going to win a decision.
Yeah, I will agree with you guys. I like Corey Beastin 25-8 Anderson here by decision. Last time, when I was on Daniel's show, Half the Battle, with Adam Martin, I was predicting Corey Anderson's fight over Jan Blachowicz. My reasoning was he beats 25-8 and everyone else beats 24-7. So you got to go with Corey Anderson here. I mean, it's not the best nickname, but it's so far working for him, except for against John Vellante, who we'll be talking about in a little bit. Realistically, though, Corey Anderson should win this fight. I like him to grind out a decision. It's kind of interesting how MMA Genius brought up the fact that Anderson probably is, at this point, a better wrestler. He probably will be able to grind out a decision over Tom Lawler. Who, I mean, he knocked out John Vellante in his last outing, but it wasn't overly impressive because Vellante did win that first round, I believe, fairly clearly. So, I mean, Tom Lawler can knock out Anderson. We have seen Anderson knocked out inside the UFC against John Vellante. But it's going to be an interesting matchup. I think the safe pick is Corey Anderson here by decision. All right, moving on. We have Jean Vellante taking on Ilir Latifi, who, let's just say MMA State of Mind, loves this guy. Daniel, do you like Latifi here? You played Sean O'Connell against Latifi back in a few months ago. That didn't work out. Are you fading Latifi again?
No, it's tough to say, man, because obviously that was a slap in the face to fade him that time. But at the same time, there was a reason why I faded him. So the question is, can Jean Vellante exploit that reason, or is he going to get knocked out here? And there is a chance he could get knocked out because not only does Ilir possess that power, but Vellante has been knocked out before. You know, he's a meathead, man. He's Chris Weidman's punching bag. But he could have a good game plan, but at the same time, it looks like Latifi's taking it more seriously now that he's at ATT. So my lean is towards Latifi, but, you know, some sharp people are also taking shots on Vellante, and I don't blame them either because I could see him winning this fight. I do think Latifi is a bit overrated. I know I bet on O'Connell, and obviously that was dumb in retrospect, but, you know, it is what it is, man. It was plus 250, and, you know, you take the shot. But with this fight, I'm not sure, man. You know, Vellante could do it, or he could get caught, so we're just going to have to tune in, man.
MMA Genius, does Vellante win this fight, or are you going with MMA State of Mind's Lord and Savior, Ilir Latifi?
You know, I also bet on Sean O'Connell against Ilir Latifi, and that was just a devastating loss to take. I mean, Latifi put him in the ground quick. But I don't agree with the line in this fight. I think the line should probably be about even. I think Vellante does have the attributes to possibly even finish Latifi because he has a very hard right kick, and we've seen Latier struggle with kickers before. And but I mean, Latifi could out wrestle Vellante, but Vellante trains with Chris Weidman every day, so you know he's ready for that. I know Vellante's sloppy. He's a brawler, like Daniel said. He's a meathead. He likes to block punches with his face. You know, he like his last fight against Tom Lawler, he was winning that first round, blasting him with kicks, but he like consistently was walking right into his right hook the whole time. And but I think I could see myself possibly like picking Vellante and Talmaster or something, but I'm leaning towards Ilir Latifi, but I'm definitely passing on this fight from as a betting perspective.
All right, Paolo, do you like Ilir Latifi here, or will the I believe a fairly sizable underdog, plus 165 underdog, not as big as I thought. Do you like Sean Vellante here or Latifi?
Yeah, I like Latifi here. I mean, Genius did nail it that Vellante has some pretty good kicks, and what dusted Latifi last time was a kick. So maybe Vellante can exploit, you know, his kicking game and his slight reach advantage and keep Latifi on the outside, and he could probably outpoint him and win a decision because I think Latifi is like tough as nails, man. But once Latifi gets a chance and he cracks that chin, man, I think Vellante's going to go down like a stack of bricks. So I got Latifi by knockout, probably in the first.
Yeah, I agree. I faded Ilir Latifi in his last fight. I thought he was overrated. I still believe he's slightly overrated. He's not the next John Jones, but I do think he's good enough and has enough power to knock out John Vellante. I think it's a fairly safe play, or not a play, but like a pick. But at light heavyweight, John Vellante has knockout power. Latifi has knockout power, so anyone can go down. I think Latifi's chin is a bit better, so that could come into play. It's tough to say. It seems like all of Vellante's training partners and teammates are saying, yeah, we've only seen 40% of Vellante, but they also said Chris Weidman was at like 20% for his fight with Rockhold. So, I mean, I'm not taking Sarah Longo's percentages into account in this one, but yeah, you got to go with Latifi. I think it's a safe pick here. I think he wins by knockout. Moving on, we have the co-main event of the evening. The women's bantamweight championship is on the line. We got Holly Holm taking on. We got Holly Holm defending her title against Miesha Tate. Very interesting matchup here. Paulo, who do you like in this one?
Mute. Oh, mute. Oh yeah. Whoops. Yeah, I like Holly Holm here, man. Like, I want to look at this fight some more because a lot of people are like picking Tate here, and I'm like, why are you people picking Tate? And I can't help but feel that they got like beer goggles on because she's like super hot, and they just want to pick her for whatever reason that is. The same way some girls probably pick Sage Northcutt to win just because he's freaking hot, or according to them that is. No, man, Holly Holm. I mean, Misha Tate, she gets lit up in all of her fights, man. I mean, the thing is she's tough as nails, but that only means that Holly Holm's gonna keep knocking her down and score a lot of fantasy points. So I don't know about making a bet though. The lines the lines tightening up, and it's Holmes I think minus 350 or something. So I don't really want to lay juice on her because, like, if the fight goes for long, I think that favors Misha Tate, and Misha Tate could maybe I don't know. Edge out by the decision if she doesn't get finished brutally, which I think she will. So I'm picking Holly Holm by knockout. Let's go with second round, like her coach predicted.
All right, Daniel, do you like Holly Holm here, or will Misha Tate finally become the women's bantamweight champion of the UFC?
I don't know. It's a really tough one to predict. I think that Holly Holm should win. You know, if she looks like she did against Ronda. You know, I felt like her first 2 UFC fights, she didn't really live up to that hype, but she really rose to the occasion when it came to fighting Ronda. So that person shows up. I see her head kicking, knocking out Misha Tate. You know, that's been done before. She's also been dropped in other fights. And Misha Tate gets hurt often. The thing with her is she's super gritty. She's super tough. And if there's ever been a knock on Holly, it has been her chin. She has been brutally knocked out in boxing, and she's been wobbled in MMA. So if Misha can find that chin, maybe she can knock her out. Vegas Dave says to bet on Tate. Yeah, last time I faded Vegas Dave on that Ronda versus Holm, it didn't go too well for me. So I don't know, man. I think Holm's gonna win, but who knows, man? You know what? I call myself best fight picks, but you know I call myself that before there were women in the UFC. So now I gotta evolve and just get better at predicting their fights because my hit rate with the women's fights is really shitty unless Joanna's fighting because she always wins. So I don't know what to say, man. I'm gonna go with Holm, but we could see an upset here for sure.
All right, MMA Genius, are you going with Holly Holm, biggest upset of last year, or will Misha Cupcake Tate rise to the occasion and take the win?
I mean, like, you know, Paolo and Dan pretty much touched up on it. I mean, like Paolo said, I mean, Misha likes to block punches with her face. She walks right in and she just has her chin straight up in the air and it's wide open. But, I mean, she finds a way to come back and win these fights some way, somehow. But the thing is, I've considered putting Holly Holm in parlays, but for some reason I can't pull the trigger on it because of this right here. Like, even in the Renault fight, she kind of stumbled, did a little mini chicken dance at one point. Something. I mean, Misha. She's got power now in her hands. I mean, you saw what she did to Jessica. She's tough as she's tough as hell, man. It's so hard to counter out. But of course, I'm leaning Holly. Of course, Misha's a wide open target. She's sloppy. I don't think she can take Holly down consistently. So of course, I'm leaning Holly. But I mean, depending on how my night's going, how emotional I am, I might take a stab at Misha. Probably not.
Yeah, I gotta go with Holly Holm. I'm not overly confident like I was in Rousey against Holly Holm. I mean, you have to pick Holly Holm here. Misha Tate's best chance of winning this fight is honestly grinding out Holly Holm, and that's something I really don't see happening because of Holly Holm's fantastic takedown defense. I mean, Rousey, yeah, she tried to stand with Holm when they fought in November, but Rousey, I still, if I recall, I haven't seen the fight for a little while, but she either went for a small takedown or she had her down for a moment. I can't recall exactly how that played out, but I do remember Rousey almost catching her in her armbar very momentarily. But we can all agree that Holly Holm has really good takedown defense. Misha Tate, her best chance is not on the feet. Holly Holm, if Misha Tate tries and stands with her for the entire fight, even if she doesn't go forward and stays back and is fairly reserved, Holly Holm will like that. She'll just throw kicks, throw strikes, and win a lackluster decision. That's honestly what I see happening. I think Misha Tate will try and close the distance. Holly Holm has fantastic control of her range. She fights where she wants to fight. She doesn't let her opponents close the distance with her or whatever the case may be. I gotta favor Holly Holm here. Miesha Tate, like I said, her best chance is taking her down and grinding her out, or just kind of stalling the fight, holding her up against the fence. And honestly, that's not something I see happening. If Rousey, despite going for the knockout, she still obviously was pressuring Holm and moving forward. If Rousey can't close the distance and connect, then I don't think Tate can do the same with takedowns. You got to go with Holly Holm here to win a decision. I don't think she finishes Tate, though. I like the Preacher's Daughter by decision. All right, main event time. We got the notorious Conor McGregor, current UFC featherweight champion, taking on lightweight contender in a welterweight bout. So 5-round, 170-pound matchup. McGregor, last fight was at 145. Now he's fighting at 170. Was supposed to fight RDA at 155. Nate Diaz has been at welterweight before. Most recently, though, in his career, he's been at 55. Very interesting matchup. More than anything, though, their smack talk and the press conference was even more interesting. Daniel, you're really high on Conor McGregor. You've bet him probably in all of his fights or close to it. Do you like him here?
It'll be done in one. And, here's the thing, man. Conor McGregor, he's about to be one of the greatest ever. And that's just all there is here, Nate Diaz, I'm a huge fan of both the Diaz brothers. They're incredible fighters. I got that Don't Be Scared, Homie shirt. I got that free Nick Diaz shirt. Like, I'm down with the Diaz brothers. But, you can't bet emotionally. I'm a big Conor fan, too, because both these dudes are real fighters. The thing is, Conor has more ways to win. They're gonna have a stand-up war, but Conor has more tools at his disposal in that stand-up war. And I'm saying stand-up war, but I don't think it's going to be a stand-up war. I think he's going to knock him out in the first round. And whether it's a hook kick, whether it's a left hand, whether it's the knee, the elbow, he's going to knock him out, man. And I love Nate, and I hope he bounces back really strong.
Now, Paolo, are you going with the featherweight champion at 170 pounds? Do you like Conor McGregor here? Do you like him inside the distance? Or are you going with the fairly big underdog here, Nate Diaz?
You know what? I got Conor here, but I just wanted to say that Nate Diaz has such a strong fan base. Not just Nate Diaz, but like the Diaz brothers. They have a really strong fan base that if you look at it just based on like social media, if you ask people, MMA fans and stuff, you would think that this was a 50-50 pick'em fight based on how many people are saying Nate Diaz is going to kick Conor McGregor's ass. They couldn't be more wrong. I'm sorry. I don't know. Some people who are pretty sharp too, who are Nate Diaz fans, are putting a lot of money on Nate Diaz. I'm like, man, you guys are wasting your money, man. Conor McGregor, he's not gonna make it out of there versus Conor McGregor, man. Plus the fact that it's a short training camp. I mean, Nate Diaz is always in shape. I mean, I heard from one of the guys that knows him that he was training for a triathlon, so he has to be in athletic shape. At least maybe he can go 5 rounds or something. But, I mean, is he in fight shape? And based on what he's been saying on interviews, I agree with Brian Stan on this, that he already felt that Nate Diaz had accepted defeat in some way. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like he's going to think he's going to lose to Conor, but he's saying, I'm going to go in there, I'm either going to be killed or I'm going to kill. Like, I'm either going to murk him or he's going to murk me. So he's already considering that he could get his ass kicked in there. And, like, does Conor go in there thinking he's going to get his ass kicked? No. Conor goes in there with only one mindset. I'm going to kick this guy's ass. And that's why I'm going to side with Conor, because he's the mentally stronger fighter. He's physically stronger, more athletic. He's going to be faster now, something that he's not used to, something that we're not used to seeing Conor, because he's fighting like midgets, as Nate Diaz likes to say. And the only thing Nate Diaz has over him is probably cardio and reach. That's it.
All right, MMA Genius, do you like Conor McGregor, or will we see a big upset in the main event of UFC 196 on Saturday night?
To all those Diaz fans out there, there will be a time to fade Conor McGregor, but this time is not the time. Nate's just too slow. He just can't compete. Not saying that he can't compete with him. It's just that the style matchup, he's just too slow, and his reactions are too slow, and McGregor's just going to touch him up. And I just think he's just going to go down. The only way Diaz could win this fight is if McGregor slipped and got his arm trapped in a guillotine or something like that. But I just think he's just going to smoke him, like, really quick. And I got a bet on McGregor in round 1 at plus 135. And Let's do it. No Connor.
Yeah, you gotta go with Conor McGregor here. I mean, Nate Diaz has a chance. Like, it could happen, but I would be very, very surprised if Nate Diaz somehow pulled off the upset. I don't know how he would do it. Maybe with takedowns. Maybe. I mean, on the feet, Nate Diaz really does not have much of a chance whatsoever. You like Nate Diaz, you can't not like him, but Conor McGregor he is I don't know how to describe him, but I like Daniel calling him one of the greatest of all time. Well, soon to be, because I do believe that. I really do believe at one point in a few years we'll be saying, yeah, John Jones, Demetrius Johnson, and Conor McGregor. Not in any specific order. Maybe McGregor will be number one. I'm not sure, but he's definitely at the top already, and I think he just keeps going higher from here. Stylistically, I think he knocks out Nate Diaz. Nate Diaz has a very good chin. We all know that. But Conor McGregor can knock out just about anyone except for Max Holloway. And the reason he didn't knock out Max Holloway was because he had a bad knee tear. So a ligament in his knee was torn, of course, during that fight. So, I mean, I picked against McGregor a few times earlier in his career. I picked Poirier against him. I picked Mendes. After the Mendes fight, I was like, yeah, that wasn't pretty, but McGregor wins no matter what. Like, I don't care if it's Frankie Edgar. I don't care if it's Cain Velasquez or John Jones. Conor McGregor finds a way to win. He can be taken down 3 times by Chad Mendes. And that's exactly what happened. But he found a way to get up. I don't care that Mendes was on a 2-week camp. Doesn't really matter. He still stepped up. Conor McGregor finds a way to win, and that's what he'll do on Saturday night. He will beat Nate Diaz by knockout. It'll be pretty. It'll be inside the first round, and we can continue calling him Mystic Mac. All right, anything else you guys want to add? We went through every single fight except for one fight on the Fight Pass prelims, Jason Sego and Justin Salas, just because I really don't care whatsoever about this fight. I didn't want to break it down. I'm sorry to Jason Sego, our fellow Canadian, but oh well. Hopefully he's not listening. Daniel, anything else you want to add about the card? Why you should watch Conor McGregor beat up Nate Diaz, Paolo, MMA Genius? Anything else you want to add before? I guess we're not going to do DraftKings teams. Well, Paolo can if he has it up. But I know Daniel probably doesn't MMA Genius. I'm not sure. I don't. But yeah, Paolo, you can tell your team later. Anything else you guys want to add?
Yeah, you definitely got to check out the Jason Sago fight. This kid's going to make a statement. Been out for 2 years. But, I mean, listen, anytime you get to watch Conor McGregor fight, it's a special occasion. You know, like I was saying earlier, he's going to be one of the greatest of all time. I've known this for a long time. Finally, people are starting to realize it, and it is what it is. You just got to enjoy it because there's going to come a time when he's not going to be fighting anymore, and we're going to talk about how we got to witness Conor McGregor. So make sure you tune in for this fight. And as far as DraftKings, you know, even though I don't have it pulled up, I can tell you my team right now because I'm basically only picking underdogs except my boy McGregor. So we're going to go 2 favorites with McGregor and Erick Silva, but then I'm going to take underdogs in CR. I'm going to take Ishihara, and I was just kidding about the last underdog. I'm going to take a favorite, but hopefully it lets me within the cap. I'll take Chaz the Scrapper Skelly.
Paulo can probably check that out. I don't know if you have DraftKings open on a new team, Paulo, but
I do.
if you wanna put those 5 fighters in and let Daniel know.
It's all good. I can figure it out myself, but Paulo, tell us your team.
All right, I only have one of the teams now. I have the lottery, the GPP team, which is what I basically use for like this big ass pools with over 9,000 people. This basically where you gotta like hit every top scorer to win. So yeah, I'm going with 3 favorites here. I'm going with Conor, obviously. I'm going to Holm because I think even if he doesn't finish Tate just gets hit so many times that Holm's gonna keep scoring points. I got Vito to finish Moraes at some point. I'm going with 2 big underdogs here. I'm going with CR, and I'm gonna take a shot at Lawler to maybe knock out Corey Anderson or submit him, man. I mean, you gotta really roll the dice on one of these guys. So, yeah.
All right, MMA Genius, do you have a team?
No, man, but I don't have a DraftKings team, but I got a parlay with Skelly and Erick Silva right now. and plus 140, and McGregor in round one. But most likely we're going to touch CR. We're going to possibly touch this Ishihara kid if the line gets better, but we'll see.
All right, now, Paolo, can you quickly enter? I'll tell you 5 fighters that could be on my team. I don't know if it'll work because I'm only going with one dog, I think, because I'm picking Teleb, but it's not going to be pretty. I'm going Teruto Ishihara. I will go maybe Skelly if he's cheap. Give me Latifi. Give me Nunes.
Hold on. Who do you want? Yoshabo?
Yeah, Yoshabo, whoever that is.
Skelly?
Oh, that's his nickname. Okay. Yeah, Yoshabo, Latifi, Skelly, Nunes.
You still got a lot of space. The only guy you can't buy is Connor.
Give me.
You gotta have Connor in there, man.
No, give me.
It's not like he's gonna get finished.
Give me Vito or Miranda.
Miranda, okay, cool.
So I think that's Miranda, Skelly, Ishihara, Nunes, and Latifi. Story Conor McGregor. Anyways, that is all for this 26th edition of Before the Battle. Appreciate you guys coming on as well, especially our special guest, the MMA genius, Daniel. Let us know where we can find you on social media, and anything else you got to say, shoutouts, or let us know where you can find your bets and your podcast, everything like that. Now's your time.
You can follow me at Best Fight Picks. Now is my time. My time is all the time, Nick, like Connor would say. But bestfightpicks.com. Half the Battle is my show. You can follow it on iTunes, on SoundCloud, on YouTube. And tomorrow, I finally got the call to step up, and I'm doing something with Flying Brian. I know everyone's been asking me, why haven't you and Flying Brian put out anything? It's a good question, but we're putting out something tomorrow. The entire card will be broken down. I'm looking forward to that very much. And then Thursday, Half the Battle returns. I got SBG Ireland's own undefeated James Gallagher. This guy trains with McGregor. I have to have him on for the insight. And then I got our boy Will Martin, because I got to represent Will Martin when we're talking about a McGregor fight. So I got both of them on, and I'm stoked, man.
All right, Paolo, where can we find you on social media? Where can we find your writing, your breakdowns, everything you do over at Sportsnet and Today's Knockout? Let us know. Now's your time.
Yeah, guys, you can follow me at GoPaoloMMA. It says down there. You can follow my writing at Today's Knockout, at Sportsnet. And I'm going to be doing a breakdown of Diaz and McGregor. Like, the moment that fight was announced, I jumped right away on my editor and be like, I'm doing breakdown on that. Nobody else is doing the breakdown on that, because I really want to have more reasons to watch old fights from the two of them, because it's just such a great fight, man. And stay tuned for that. I also got a couple of articles coming up for Today's Knockout, which I do the DraftKings preview for. So if you really want to get into DraftKings and are looking for, my opinion on it, go check it out. I've won a little bit of money on DraftKings, actually, but too bad Counter Moves is gone, because that's where I usually win the big money, but it is what it is.
All right, MMA Genius, where can you find you on Twitter and other social media, if there is any? And I believe you still write. I'm not positive, but if you do, let us know where you can find that as well.
Yeah, man, just follow me at MMA Genius 05 and follow thesportmatrix.com.
All right, and as for me, you can follow me on Twitter at NickUFC. Check out my website, MMAJR.co. You can check out my writing there, but most of all at BloodyElbow.com, and still a little bit at MMAsucker.com, but you want to read most of my stuff, BloodyElbow.com is where you'll find it. MMA Junior Radio is my podcast, my other podcast, I should say. I host it each and every week with Andrew the Clown Kid Lawrence. However, this week, he's in Brazil doing whatever. So, filling in for him as our co-host is one guy who I consider one of the best MMA analysts around. He's an analyst for the Fight Network. Robin Black filled in as our co-host, so it is awesome having him back on the show as our co-host. On this episode, on episode 48 of MMA Junior Radio, we have Jason House and Chito Vera coming on at the same time to talk about the controversy in Chito Vera's loss to Davey Grant this past weekend.
Hey, Nick.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you. Who's the other guy you got on with Chito Vera?
His manager, Jason House.
Oh, nice. That's badass. I can't wait to hear that, man.
And also, we got Brad Pickett, who picked up his first win his first win since 2014, I should say, this past week. And also UFC London. And rounding out the show, we have Fernando Gonzalez, who takes on Gilbert Smith in the co-main event of Bellator 151 this weekend. So check those out. 3 great interviews. I'll be on TSN 1290 Radio's The Weigh-In this weekend for the full 2-hour broadcast in studio, so check that out. Online, you can find that on tsn1290.ca, or if you're in Winnipeg, just turn your radio to AM and 1290 and you should get it. I have some pieces coming out for the interview with Chito Vera and Jason House and Brad Pickett, most likely. Those will be most likely posted bloodyelbow.com, and that is about it, though. So appreciate you guys coming on. Appreciate everyone who listens in to Before the Battle each and every fight week. And with that, enjoy the fights.